You know when you Google Cilla Black, one of the first autofill results is Cilla Black dead.
Really?
But she's not, so...
Hello and welcome to the Video Gamer UK podcast. Today I am joined by, standby for his thoughts on Titanfall, it's Steve Burns.
Yeah.
Is anyone fed up of people saying that yet?
No.
Standby for Titanfall.
Yeah. No.
It's
Who knows?
Jim, Slayer of Helpless Merchants, Trinker. You thankfully, you've grabbed a few questions off Twitter and the like, and you added a few names for me to include in today's podcast. Yours was a little bit different than the rest. Jim, extremely wonderful to an extent I cannot completely fathom. Trinker.
That's true.
I think I'll just go with mine. As you did slay the merchant last night and accidentally make our Dark Souls 2 run.
The people in the chat on the live stream were telling me to kill stuff every time we saw stuff.
That's a recurring theme in
so
not just the Dark Souls streams, but it's been particularly bad in that. Onion Knight was a helpless victim. And shit, did I have a name for Dave? Oh yeah, sorry man, you're going to have to step in for Miller Instinct this week. It's
Whatever.
David Scammo.
All right, I'm in a funny mood this week. This podcast's taken far too long to get going. I was told an hour ago, are you ready? And I was like, yeah. Now...
No, you were not. An hour ago was 10... Okay, possibly.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
How's it going, Braz?
Yeah, it's going very well. Thank you for asking.
No one ever asked you that.
No one ever asked me.
You always ask us, and we don't give a shit about you. So, but today I'm giving it back.
Well, I feel better that you've cared enough to ask.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad I've made you feel better today.
Good. Do you know what I'm glad about?
What?
Some big video games this week.
There are big video games.
Titanfall and Dark Souls 2 and a few little bits and pieces floating around that. But really, if you launch in this week, it's going to be a tricky one.
You're screwed, basically.
Yeah.
Don't even bother.
Has everyone played at least one of those two games?
I've played at least 2 of those 2 games.
Oh, cranky. Dave comes in prepared every week.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right, okay, what should we start with? Should we start with some... Well, I'm going to say we start with Dark Souls 2, because that's the freshest in my mind.
Yeah, because it's the only one you've played.
No, I played both, actually.
Oh, yeah, you did.
I played a hell of a lot of Titanfall.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later.
Sorry, that was my bad. I feel rude.
Well, it's all right. You've lost all the goodwill and favour that you...
Yeah, I'll make it up to you later.
Okay, so Jim and I streamed Dark Souls 2 last night. Steve, you played a tiny little bit this morning.
I wrecked it up,
and
actually.
Dave, you tried it and didn't really get on with it?
It's not my game. I hinted at this last week.
Mm-hmm.
I get the appeal.
Yeah.
I get a lot of the... well, I'm going to call them excuses that people love Dark Souls I don't agree with. Me and Brett had a very big argument the other day.
Oh, God, I wanted to kill myself.
I mean, Brett was trying to tell me all this fucking nonsense about Dark Souls that was just complete and utter shite.
Well, yeah, I think you did expect that you probably wouldn't get on with this one as you went in, not being a fan of the past game.
I went in with an open mind, though. I didn't go, God, I'm not going to get on with it.
Yeah.
I wanted to actually really like it, because I want to understand why people love it so much.
Yeah.
And I still don't get the whole thing about, Dark Souls is never cheap. It's always your fault when you die. Absolute horseshit. It's a game designed around cheap deaths, and then you learn from where not to step and where not to do.
I'm not sure. Cheap deaths might be a little bit harsh. I think
cheap. You walk down a bridge, the fucking bridge collapses. You can't see it coming.
Okay.
But then the next time you know, maybe I shouldn't walk on that bridge.
Yeah, but I think the parts of people are talking about are more to do with the combat and
maybe, but you can't say that Dark Souls is not cheap, because it is.
It can be cheap, sure, but I think the combat is. We said last night that it's a really good example of games that are all about learning where the kind of windows are in the fight. When the animation stops...
It's about learning animations by rote, basically, which is kind of why I don't get on with it.
See, I think I
kind of agree with the cheap deaths thing, to be honest. I mean, again, I like you say, I get the appeal as well. It's just not for me.
Yeah. Well, that's fair enough. I think there is a weird argument that because people do tend to love and hate the game, it can sometimes... Finding the middle ground can be...
You kind of have to learn every kind of 5-minute section of the game by rote, by going through it and dying in it several times. Mm-hmm. So you know where to stand and where to hit and where...
I understand why people would like that.
Yeah, because that's what a lot of older games were all about.
But that doesn't mean the majority like that. And I think there's a lot of...
I still think, although Dark Souls 2 is... it's by far had the biggest launch of the Souls game so far because it's.
Where can we say that?
No, as in
it's not even out in the UK yet.
As in, people are excited about it,
Right.
Because Dark Souls was very much the one that made the Souls stream more mainstream. But yeah, I think that's.
I'm coming across as really negative, and I don't mean to be. I'm just kind of trying to balance it out a bit because a lot of the conversation with Dark Souls always seems to be one-sided. It's like stand up for Dark Souls or you get shit on.
Yes,
there's people scared to,
or the other way round as well. Like it because it's such a love and hate game. It's very hard. I mean, we tried last night in the stream to have like a level-headed conversation.
I basically said on the stream that, just as you said 5 minutes ago, I totally understand the appeal, but it's not for me. It's essentially what I said, and I had people in the stream complaining that I was being too negative about it.
Yeah.
If that's been too negative, I mean, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
I could have said it was a piece of shit, and I didn't. So,
okay,
and it isn't. Like, it's a well-crafted game for what it is. I totally get that, but
it's a lot.
I just find it an exercise in frustration, and I just don't want to put myself through that. Basically,
that's fair enough. I don't think that there's any problem with that. I think that with this, it's more of the same of Dark Souls, particularly.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that it's called Dark Souls 2 instead of, obviously Demon Souls and Dark Souls are supposed to be connected somehow, but
they're owned by different people, aren't they?
Sony owns the name Demon Souls,
and I kind of feel like this one is the two are closer somehow.
Yeah, I think with Dark Souls, I really struggled with it. I really like Demon Souls. Dark Souls, the changes they made, so you didn't have a Nexus anymore. You couldn't just pop back to a hub via a bonfire or whatever. They made it a lot more open. And I think with Dark Souls, I said to you, Dave, I think I said this yesterday, I feel like it's like learning another language, because everything seems to be very like learning another language in the same Latin alphabet. So like, say, German or Spanish or whatever. It's like all the things, the letters, the things that comprise it are the same, and you can see things in it which you should be able to make out, and shared and correlations between them. But at the same time, it is a game about learning systems. You have to learn how everything interlocks again. And it's not like a Dragon Age or anything like that, even though it may look like it or resemble it in any way. And I think it only really clicked for me on the third time. The third time around, I was like, right, for fuck's sake, I've got to play this game now, because everyone's talking about it. And then suddenly, I just got it. But that's not to say that I'm right or anyone else is wrong. I don't think. I
get that's the kind of frustration for me, because I went through the same thing, and I kind of, when it's Dark Souls, thinking I have to really like it, kind of, because everyone says it's really good.
But that's just video games, isn't it? That's just marketing. I don't like Halo, for example. I bought an original Xbox, not an Xbox One, Dave. An original Xbox on launch day, 3 other pads for Halo. I started it. I did that mission where you fight the midgets. And I was like, what the fuck is this game? What is it?
Right.
And then I took the whole fucking thing back.
Did I ever tell you about my...
Like, this is rubbish.
Did I ever tell you about my Xbox launch day experience? With the original Xbox?
Were you a midget?
No, I was still in school when I bought an Xbox, and my friends were like, I'll bring it around tonight, we'll have a sleepover. It wasn't like... They didn't label it as a sleepover because we were men, right?
You've been used.
Sexy.
Yeah. And they took the Xbox...
and left you outside.
Plugged it in, and... then they were like, all right, off you go, Dave. Could you go and get something from the other room? And they locked me in this other room while they were all playing Xbox.
Fucking hell.
That's brilliant, Dave.
That is... Oh, man, I'm so sorry.
You learned a valuable lesson there, though, didn't you?
Never trust anyone.
Do you know what I did, though? They locked me in the room with a computer. And this was in the heyday of MSN Messenger, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I went on there, and there was a lady on there, and of course it was logged into my friend's account, and I did the usual trick of, hello, I really like you. Yeah. How are you doing?
Rwenge.
So you got the last laugh.
I did get the last laugh. It was amazing. He was well pissed off about that, but it was amazing.
But I don't think anyone should... there is a kind of bullying into Dark Souls, isn't there? You don't understand games.
Nice.
And that's the thing.
Fuck you. You don't like Dark Souls.
Yeah, that chat can fuck off.
Yeah. Like Final Fantasy. I remember way back when, before Final Fantasy got the shoeing it deserved for being shy. It's like, are you not looking forward to Final Fantasy 8? No. Well, why not? Final Fantasy 7 is the best thing ever. It was the best thing ever.
I understand that, though. Like, that gamers are passionate about what they like, and like that's just a very vocal
Some
group.
people were still doing that about Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah. After 20 hours, it gets really good. Oh, I mean,
heard that so many times as well. Once it opens up, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like, but I could play 3 other games in the fucking time it takes for it to do that. No.
But yeah, so with the, you said the core elements are the same with Demon Souls and Dark Souls, but it changes enough that it kind of scared you away. Well, how have you with Dark Souls 2? I get the impression, I've only really played around in the starting couple of hours, that Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 are much more similar. The combat feels like, other than the fact that the dual wielding, for example, is more fleshed out and kind of works now. I found the combat almost identical. I don't know if I'm missing...
I found it easier than I found the original Dark Souls. Maybe that's because I played Dark Souls originally not knowing how Dark Souls works.
The opening 30 minutes is... This is what I like about Dark Souls 2, actually. The opening 30 minutes are very much more designed as a tutorial. Like, you have... The Dark Souls, brings up...
That opening and filing shrine... Fuck me. I was like, where am I?
It tells you what to do.
Go downstairs, dead. Okay, all right, I'll go upstairs. And then on you go. Yeah. And that's part of the appeal. But I think the Dark Souls 2, from what little I've played and a lot of what I've heard about it, it is more geared to giving you the tools to then actually enjoy it, rather than just saying, now work it all out.
And that's what I really like about it. This is the first Souls game that I want to get into on my own. I mean, I sat through the live streams and I've seen both games completed, but it's just not the same unless it's your character and you've decided exactly how the build works and learned the boss fights. It's not the same at all.
Demon Souls is a lot more linear is maybe the wrong word, but Demon Souls tutorializes better than Dark Souls in that when you start, you're in. So I skip the cutscenes at the start of the Souls games because that is the only moment of it where I think more terrible lore. I'd rather experience it than be told it. So I just skip that shit. Give a fuck.
Yeah, but to be fair to the game, we had the same complaint with the opening to Souls 2. You have like this really there's two like pretty hefty cutscenes one after the other, and then
I'll skip that. That's gone.
At the moment you pass that, it's completely up to you. Like we didn't have another cutscene for the rest of the time we played, but the opening is like very intent on look at this lore. Honestly,
establish.
You wanted,
but in Demon Souls, you fight a boss first, and then you die, and you go to the Nexus. And then the first stage you undertake, I undertook, was the one with the castle. And so you start on like a drawbridge or something like that, and you can see the castle in front of you. And I've described it before as like the best designed opening since Mario 64. Because you have to go forward, really, and you have the bonfire, but then everything starts to interlock and you start to come back round the castle, and it's a lot less open than Dark Souls and a lot more forgiving. And once you finish that one, when you come back to the Nexus, you understand how the rest of it works. Whereas Dark Souls 2 is very ambitious, that it would put everything together. And I think maybe they didn't do that as well as they could have done. Maybe a character going, I'd go upstairs to ring the bell first. They do say that, but you're like, excuse me, I'm the fucking player of this game. I'll do what I want. And then you get killed by some skeletons going, no, you're right, I'm going to go upstairs now.
I think it's going to be... It's a good game to start in and I still see myself as a new player to the series, just because it does quite a few things that, makes it more accessible for new players, which I'm not sure if that's pissed off some of the older players. I really don't know. But things like you can travel between bonfires immediately when you start the game. The whole life gem and Estus Flask combination works quite nicely. There is another like hub area when you start. There's a nice tutorial. Like, it just feels like a slightly easier approach to the game. However, it still does do some classic like Dark Souls bullshit. Like the fact that the Estus Flask is your core healing item in Dark Souls 2. It's changed slightly in this, but you really need it as soon as possible. It doesn't tell you that you need to just talk to... There's a woman like standing by a tree in like the hub area when you first start. Simon, when I pointed out where she was, walked past her like twice. Like she's just kind of... You have to be actively looking for her to find her.
Simon's heart wouldn't have been in it though, let's face it.
He was, but that's it. The fact that there was a healing item involved, he was really committed to finding it, but still managed to walk past it twice. And you're never told, listen, before you get on, before you go into your first area, start killing stuff, you might want to go get that healing flask. Also, she's the woman that helps you level up. So probably the most important character in the game that you need to meet right now. Yeah. It never says, listen, do this first, then be on your way. And we completely miss that. And the life gems, which are the healing item that you start with, are consumables. So if you mess up, you can use all of those and then have none left, have no souls to buy any more, and you haven't got the Estus Flask that she's supposed to give you. And so I'm like, Simon's save file is completely fucked. I don't think it makes any sense to go back to that now. And
so that's the thing. Like,
it's unnecessary.
Being let off the leash is one thing, but then like having no idea what you're meant to actually. Because the thing about Dark Souls was one of the things I was saying to Brez. It's actually quite a linear game in the sense that it will funnel you down certain paths because the other paths has enemies that are just too difficult to defeat at that point in time. And so,
I think if you're playing it normally, there is like a structure to where you
should and shouldn't go at any particular moment, really. So this whole idea of it's a massive world that you can just go and explore at your own pace and you can be an adventurer, do what you want. I'm not sure I entirely agree with that.
I think you can once you know the world. Like I think it's difficult to explore before then.
Yeah, but on your first time through, there's no way you can really do that. And I mean, most people, your Dark Souls fans are going to replay it over and over and over, but most people won't play it more than once, I don't think. I certainly wouldn't. So, that's probably one of my biggest criticism with it, when people are like,
that stuff is definitely still there as well. Like
that luxury of freedom, it's like, well, it's too much freedom. If this was any other game, I think it would be criticised for that, for you not knowing what to do. And the world isn't interesting enough either, I don't think. The world is actually quite a depressing place to be.
That's what I like about it.
Yeah,
fine, but it's not for me.
I prefer a little bit... I like the dark fantasy stuff, but I find Dark Souls a little bit too bleak sometimes.
It is bleak as
I know
fuck.
people love that, but I'm the same. I agree. I think I like that the freedom is there. I just wish that it would even give you just stronger hints.
Slight pointers.
This is where you probably want to go first. Make sure you speak to that woman.
But then the people who have Dark Souls don't want that.
Exactly.
So they can't win. They can't win either way. So
I love some of the compromises they've made as well. Like with Dark Souls, when you're going for a boss, you have to kill the enemies on the way or get past them somehow. And then if you die at the boss fight, you respawn and you have to kill those enemies again. Well, the way they've tried to find a middle ground in Dark Souls 2, and the answer was I think you have to kill those enemies
12 times.
If you kill them 12 times, they'll never respawn again. So that's far too many for you to be
to bother with,
to be satisfied with that. And I think I think some players will think that's made it too casual, even though it's still...
Isn't there like a grinding element to Dark Souls as well? Wouldn't people want to replay an area more than 12 times in order to grind the souls?
That's supposed to stop you from grinding, actually, I think.
But you can.
Isn't it?
There is a consumable you can use that repopulates the world.
Oh, right, fair enough.
So I think a lot of the choices have been made. I think people that are... I'm not saying I'm an expert at all, but anyone that's new to... Anyone who didn't play Demon Souls might think that, these life gems. But the life gems are just that kind of healing herb from the original game. And all the other stuff, like warping between or going back to a central point, was all in the first game.
It was in the second game as well. You just didn't get it until about 2/3 of the way through.
And so I just think that it's just an evolution rather than... If these things were never there before, you'd be like, maybe they are doing this. But it's just good design. And I don't think that the game should be... People be like, well, now I can just walk between any bonfire. I had to get the Lord Vessel before. Just shut the fuck up. Like,
I think it's great that we can even have a conversation where there's two extremes. Like, people love it, and people actually hate it.
Yeah,
so you don't tend to get that often.
Yeah, I can't think of a game that did that above and beyond people just having a mad prejudice against the game for literally
like the people that give like Titanfall 0 Metacritic. I'm not talking about that.
That is pretty fucking great, isn't it? That's we need a little bit more of that sometimes. When we kind of sometimes on these podcasts we moan that like certain first person shooters are too similar or genres on experimenting with. Yeah, fair enough. Dark Souls, you don't like it. Steve likes it a lot.
But at the same time, I can see why people do. That's the thing.
That's cool.
It's really very polarising, but you can see like each side of that argument has...
I just hope that people on the other side understand where I'm coming from as well.
No,
they don't.
No, that's that.
We do not.
They don't. It's like the gaming equivalent of Mad Men. Like, you can watch 5 episodes of Mad Men and quite legitimately decide that it's actually boring as fuck and you can't be bothered with it. But don't say that publicly for your own sake.
Well, I'm a big fan of Mad Men, but
I'm not surprised by that, Stephen Birds.
But in fairness, I do think that a lot of just on a Mad Men rant, I get that. Absolutely get that some people don't like it and find it boring. And also, I really despise people who are like, oh man, Don Draper's the man. Don Draper's not the fucking man.
Yeah,
Don Draper's like the shell of a man. That's not even his real fucking name, spoiler alert. And he's a drunk and a bigot and a fucking sexist and he's a horrible man. Him falling out of the window at the start and going through Americana before hitting the ground, that's not just a cool intro sequence. Some people it is.
You're talking to
that's
him
him just going... Oh dear.
I've never seen Mad
we
Men.
need to reel Steve back in.
Yeah, you need to get off this TV stuff.
Anyway.
I'm shocked that no one's tried to rip Dark Souls off, like a serious attempt at doing it.
Aren't Capcom doing it?
What, with Deep Down?
Yeah.
Wasn't Dragon's Dogma that kind of middle ground between Dragon's
Dogma was described to me as a shit Dark Souls, right? And I played Dragon's Dogma and really fucking loved it and got right into it. So, whereas I couldn't get into Dark Souls. So,
But doesn't Dark Souls have its like Genesis and all those old Kingsfield games? Do you remember those on the PlayStation? Really super obscure Japanese role-playing games like this, where you'd see them in the back of computer and video games in like the import section, like. That just looks... No.
I think it has its genesis in sadomasochism, to be honest.
But it's good that a game that used to be just reviled like that, like the Kingsfield games, like, well, some people love them, but I was like, nah, I don't get it. Can now be so popular. You don't usually get that. I think you're right, Dave. You don't usually get those two polarising opinions.
And well, that's cool. Well, Dark Souls 2, I'm definitely going to play it. Steve's going to be playing it.
Bang.
I want to give it another go, but I don't know why.
I want to get into it as well. I find that it's got that one more go appeal for me now that Dark Souls didn't.
But then I think that'll be it. I think if I can't get into it again, I probably wouldn't go back.
It took me 3 goes over 2 years.
Right.
Yeah, well, yeah, space it out. Do it every 6 months, have another try.
I'll do it when the next gen version comes out.
Towards the end of my shot at playing it on the live stream last night, I actually started to enjoy it. So,
oh man,
I might actually go back to it. It made me want to go home and play the first one.
I tweeted this after the live stream. Yeah. I'm not sure. The first time you play that game, it's not the best idea to have a camera pointed at your face and be worried about constantly talking to someone.
Although the class I picked, the dual wielding one, is it swordsman or something?
Yeah, that was it.
Swordsman. That kind of felt like Dark Souls easy mode as well, because I was going around battering things, and that's just...
Yeah, you had like 2 awesome swords, and you because of how quick you can dual wield, you were slaying those enemies with.
And that kind of fits how I generally tend to play that sort of game anyway, because I'm not one for blocking, I'm one for dodging, so that's...
Yeah, but
kind of fitted more with what I would do in other games of that type.
The character Simon was using, he started off with a broken sword and a shield, and his broken sword eventually broke properly. Like I don't know why it needed to just really confirm that.
Confirmation.
Yeah, I had a shot.
Fucked.
Yeah, it was like that was pretty much the message it came.
I had a shot with Simon's character, and everything killed me really quickly.
Yeah,
and then with the character that I set up for the live stream, I was killing everything else really quickly. So,
made the right call.
I guess it really classes do matter, I suppose.
It reminds me of Resident Evil. Dark Souls reminds you so much of the original Resident Evil. So you arrive in a world. You have an opening cutscene. You arrive in a world that's quite grand. Mm-hmm. You have no idea what's going on. You don't know how anything works, so the game doesn't tell you anything. In some instances, you don't even start with a gun. And then the game just goes, go on then. And the rest of the story is essentially told via things you pick up and read. And you get stronger. In this case, you don't actually level up, but you get better weapons, you get better items. And that's one of the reasons I love it, because I love Resident Evil. I love coming into a new area and working that out. But Dave just wants fast cars, don't you, Dave?
Yeah, well,
sorry, Dave, I'm going to NeoGAF mode now. You don't understand. Xbox journalist.
Actually, speaking of which, I guess we can now move on to the other big release of the week. Titanfall. Now, I think I'm on the other side of the fence here.
Is that going to sell more than Dark Souls 2?
Yes.
Probably. So I think you played it the most out of... Oh, actually,
no, Steve's played it the most.
You went to the reviews event and did...
I've only played the
level
beta.
34 in 2 days.
Oh, really? I thought you'd been playing it the last few days. Oh, fair enough. Okay, then. Well, Steve, Titanfall.
Mm-hmm.
We did a video impressions thing a few days ago.
We did.
We kind of... Pretty much... I think you said that you had a lot of fun with it, but it could do with a little bit more variation.
Yeah, it's a mod.
A hyper-budgeted Call of Duty mod was the line I liked.
It's a mod.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
And I don't think that's necessarily a criticism, is it?
Well, not necessarily.
An observation.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
Dave, my editor.
Just like to clarify that.
So, in a lot of ways, it feels like Counter-Strike. So, you know how Counter-Strike took Half-Life or whatever, and it felt similar in a lot of ways, but it kind of really changed the way that game played. So Titanfall does do that, but whereas Counter-Strike changed fundamentally...
I kind of think, to me it felt like learning a new language, but you're still using the same Latin alphabet. Like German or Spanish or something.
Sorry.
Same core values.
I mean, all right.
I'm sorry, carry on.
I think he's taking the piss.
I mean,
I really like that description. I feel bad for ripping on it now.
Video games, yeah. So it's like learning a new language. It's like a mod. That's what it is. And whereas Counter-Strike was a mod that changed the fundamentals of the game, but felt kind of similar, this doesn't change the fundamentals. You're still kind of playing capture the flag or domination or 3 different versions of team deathmatch, and you are doing that by being more strategic or by running around. And the running routes are crazy. Some of the stuff I've seen already, like guys like running from wall to wall and jumping. It's going to be a great YouTube game, or Twitch game or whatever. But it doesn't. I mean. So you get all these cool things like the epilogue where you can escape, you're like, that's cool. And then suddenly like, oh yeah, but I'm just running back and forth with the flag. And I just wish that there was a bit more innovation in the way that the games themselves played out. I wish that there was a bit more destruction in the world, not necessarily total destruction. But what happened is that as soon as your Titan comes in, everyone's like, nah, right, out the Titan. In the first blush of playing the game, you're like, right, yeah, I'm in the Titan, I'm the man. About 3 hours in, you're like, I'm never getting in that Titan, ever.
Really?
Ever.
Yeah.
But there's no point, because you're just a gigantic walking target. So put it in guard mode, hopefully it'll pick up a few kills, and then you just run around.
Wow.
I'm playing it a little bit differently, but yeah, you immediately realise after like a couple hours in the game that as soon as you're in the Titan, it's a risk. Like, it should be. It's the coolest moment in the game. You're in a goddamn huge mech, and you can do so much damage, but everyone can see you, everyone knows where you are, and everyone sees you as a priority target because...
But you are incredibly powerful, though, even given that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not difficult to bring down a Titan.
To be honest, I kind of found if you started using... You know how the infantry classes all have anti-Titan weapons?
Yeah.
If you start using those on other infantry instead of Titans, I kind of felt just as powerful then as I was when I was in a Titan. So
yeah, because it was like a big heavy machine gun kind of thing.
I'm not sure that you really are that much more powerful as a Titan.
You are.
Just a bigger
you've got the
target.
rocket salvo and
it doesn't feel like it though. I felt like I was getting fucked a lot more quickly in a Titan than I was on the ground when I was agile. And
is it not essentially like a double life though? Really, because you can. Your Titan can explode and you can still get out.
Yeah, but people will.
I really enjoyed the Titan gameplay. Like, it's just
more like a damage booster almost that is temporary until you die. And
I think that's kind of how I used it. Like, if I ended up bringing them in and using it for kind of keeping them in guard mode or on follow, unless I thought, right, shit, this is going to be a really big fight. It's probably worth the risk. Let's just get in and tear some stuff up. But yeah, I after playing it for a few hours. Like post doing that video review, I completely agree with the points you made. I enjoyed it. I think that so many moments of that game are cool. When you have like big Titan fights, or you figure out like some new route that you can take with the kind of parkour stuff. So many cool moments, but fundamentally, it still feels much more similar to Call of Duty than I would have expected.
And we were talking about the fact that there are now 2 Call of Duty games on the market. They are Call of Duty games, except that one has a different name.
No, go on.
To me, it's to use a movie reference. It's like when someone else got the rights to Bond that year, and Never Say Never Again came out with Sean Connery, and I think Octopussy came out in the same year. And it's like, well, these are both James Bond movies, except one of them's not called that. I mean, someone on the YouTube footage that you put was like, "Can you stop playing this like Call of Duty, please?" It's a fucking Call of Duty game. Look at it.
Why has it taken Respawn to make a Call of Duty mod that's popular rather than the modding community, though? That's what I'm interested in. Why has it taken...
have you played... I play, well, not quite a bit, but occasionally I play Call of Duty 4 on Steam, and there's a clan called C4S,
right,
and they have a modded version of it where you have, like, the player count is up to, like, 64 or something, and they get new killstreak rewards and everything like that, and it feels a lot more like Battlefield in a way, because you're not just running the map anymore, you're fighting for possession of the map, even though the maps themselves aren't necessarily built for that sort of thing. And that's really cool. But yeah, I suppose that's an interesting question. but then money's involved and the art.
No,
the
of course, totally. But at the end of the day, it's just a twist. It's just a twist on an existing idea, which the modding community.
Well,
that's what
I think most of the player base for Call of Duty is console based, isn't it? So, like, although there is a PC community, I don't think.
This isn't a dig at the modding community at all. It's just interesting why they're taking
I think it's a cool question.
If Titanfall was a mode, for example, in the next Call of Duty, where like zombies, for example, and it just had Angel City, and you couldn't do parkour, for example, and let's just rule that out because of all the other things you'd have to consider, but you could call in the Titan. You could feasibly see that as being a mode, right? But you could bring in a bigger version of yourself. I'm not to put down the work that they've done, obviously spent a lot of time doing it, but that's how it feels. And I think everyone, people have their different opinions, that's fine, but people going mad, it's a 10, even a 9, I just think next year or the year after, when you have Titanfall 2, this score's going to look a bit silly, And then even 6 months after, when you go, oh, actually, it kind of is just a
Well, the thing about Titanfall is a highly anticipated AAA release, so naturally everyone's going to hate it in about 2 weeks' time.
I think they were hating it a few months ago. It seems to be a popular thing. To be fair, I know it sounds like we're being a bit down once again.
I really enjoy playing it. Yeah, I want to play it more.
I'd much rather play Titanfall than the current Call of Duty options.
Well, that's the thing as well.
It's a very fun game. It's just not that different, and I played a lot of those kind of games.
If Call of Duty comes out this year and it is just Ghosts again, like online-wise, it's dead, surely. It has to move on.
Titanfall is a much-needed kick up the arse to Call of Duty, though, isn't it? I mean, because Call of Duty is just this creaky...
Battlefield's been biting. Exactly. Yeah. Battlefield's been there on the sides for years, it's snapping at the heels,
isn't it?
Exactly. Whereas Titanfall is Call of Duty with a modded version of that.
Yeah, I don't think more competition for the big name is is a bad thing at all.
I just wish the mechs weren't quite so much just big versions of the human characters.
Yeah.
I mean, even right down to the fact that you see. When you're in a Titan and you need to reload, you see the ammo going in with a giant robotic hand, and you're like, it doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever.
Yeah. Surely you'd build all that ammo into the arm.
Yeah.
The other thing is, why didn't Activision just let Infinity Ward make this? Because there was suggestions that they wanted to make a sci-fi shooter for a while, when they were still Infinity Ward before Respawn, and
well, why? I'm not sure we can talk about this without our solicitors being present.
Really?
To be honest,
is this a thing? No, but obviously Activision want new Call of Duty, but they've branched it out to different studios anyway. And Infinity Ward these days, it's just they're making the worst Call of Duty games there are.
But when a juggernaut like that gets going, you just can't. If you think about, you have a shareholder, shareholders, you're beholden to making them more and more money. It's very difficult to say, all right, actually, Infinity Ward is making something completely different, and I don't think that's really the right thing to say.
But if you're in that position where there's a studio that really doesn't want to do another Call of Duty game, which I get the idea they clearly didn't want to do after Modern Warfare 2, they're either going to leave and do it for someone else, or you can go, all right, we'll get someone else doing Call of Duty, you can do this, and I'm sure it's going to be a success. And I don't understand what led to that. Well, we kind of do understand what led to that decision being made, but why were Activision so against it in the first place? And shareholders and all that play a role, obviously, but it's just, looking back on it now in hindsight, it's like Activision has lost out on a major opportunity, I think, by their decision to sort of force them to make Call of Duty games.
But would you? Okay, so I mean, this is speculation from a business.
Oh, yeah, it's all speculation.
You're the CEO. All right, your job is to keep people happy. Infinity Ward just came out, Modern Warfare 2. Mm-hmm. It made $1 billion. Mm-hmm. Okay, now they're like, actually, we don't want to make another one of those, which will make another $1 billion. We want 2 or 3 years to make a robot sci-fi shooter. Would you go yes or no? You'd say no. You would just say no.
Well, I know you would, but then surely you've got to be thinking, if we say no, they're not going to stick around to make that game that we want them to make anyway. And they didn't. Modern Warfare 3, I thought it was a great game, but the development of that was clearly screwed. The fact they had to pull Sledgehammer in to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, the market doesn't respond. Yeah, exactly.
No, but they'd have that regardless of whether Infinity Ward made that game or not. they could have got Sledgehammer doing that whole game, and I think Sledgehammer did. I've said this before. I think Sledgehammer did a lot more than people think they did in Modern Warfare 3.
Oh, I went
so
to
rather than risk losing,
there was no one there.
Yeah,
there was literally about 5 people in the office in the middle of the day, and I said,
"Guys, shouldn't you be?"
Yeah, I was like, "Aren't you in crunch for Modern Warfare?" And they were like, "Yeah." Like, it's funny because there's only about 5 people in the office, including you, Rob Bowling, and 4 testers. It's like, yeah, more people come in later. I was like, later when?
That guy over there's asleep. Yeah. What's going on?
That's the thing, though, right? Essentially, they lost the studio over that decision to keep them on doing that. But I don't know. I'm not a businessman. If only I knew.
If only you knew, Dave.
Interesting, though.
It is.
And now EA, their arch rival, has snapped it up. So...
It's actually, I guess it's worth mentioning the big launch in America for Titanfall was last night.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right in thinking that Xbox Live went down
screwed.
for?
I was completely boned.
For how long?
All night.
All night.
So
Did that had anything to do with Titanfall? Do you think?
They claim that it's. Well, I think the official line was Major Nelson. I think said it's not a Titanfall issue.
Bullshit.
Which was worded quite well because that could mean that this isn't an issue purely with Titanfall. And you can't just play Titanfall.
Oh, right. Okay.
Do you see what I mean?
Okay.
Or you can't not... I'm mixing my word up. You know what I mean? And I think that was then taken to mean it's not Titanfall causing the issue, which I don't think his wording initially... It was worded in a way that didn't...
I mean, if people want to think that, then
that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So then Xbox support started saying, has absolutely nothing to do with Titanfall. And I think maybe that was misconstrued from the original messaging. So yeah, I mean, it happened about 7:30 last night. It just completely went down. I tried to play Titanfall, and because I was doing the training for it, and it said reconnecting to servers or something, and I was like, "What is this?"
You hadn't even got to the multiplayer part.
No, I hadn't. I'd literally just loaded it up because it takes so bloody long to install. And I went back to the settings. It wouldn't load any of my other apps up because I thought, "What's going on here? Is this an internet issue?" And so I reset the Xbox, and then I couldn't just sign in. So yeah, you couldn't sign into your Xbox Live profile on Xbox One last night. But once you're off, you couldn't back up on.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because some other outlets withheld their actual scores, which is a lot like having your cake and eating it. It's like, here's the review, so you'll get the clicks, which is fine. That's absolutely fine. But their reasoning was, we need to see after Battlefield 4 how it works in the wild. And
well, we considered doing this as well.
Yeah,
it was mentioned. But should we do that?
But at the same time, you're then into bigger arguments about how long do we review the game for when it's in the wild, and what happens if a week from now, a week after review, it's then boned for another. And I remember Xbox Live went down for 2 weeks at the end of 2007.
It's Halo, wasn't it? I did that.
So do you remember they gave away a free game? You got Undertow,
some
shit like that. So that fucked Call of Duty 4.
That's right, Call of Duty 4. Yeah.
So at the same time, are we going to go back and retroactively say, actually, no, Call of Duty 4 is now only a 6 out of 10 game because you can only play a single player installment? Do you know what I'm saying? It's extreme. I don't blame people who have withheld the scores. I think that's legitimate. And as you say, we did have a little chat about it. But where do you draw the line?
That's the thing. Like, I reviewed Battlefield. And, where and when I played it, it was working almost perfectly, essentially. And I gave it a 9 out of 10. I thought, brilliant game. But then when it came out and it was in the real world, problems started to emerge, and it's what do you do? What do you do?
I think a lot of people who are commenting on the issue have no real idea about how these things work. Now, I know that's going to set me up for a big fall, but in my limited experience working for the company that made Battlefield 4, they have testing on every single part of the network you can imagine. They have an entire room and staff dedicated to it. It's not like they just one day went, fuck off, we're not going to do the testing. You have to test every ISP, every router, every service you're running through.
It's all simulated though, right? It's all simulated to a degree, isn't it?
Well, some of it is, but there is real world testing in there. There's like racks and racks of routers.
But not to the same extent, though.
Well, it'll never be to the same extent because 1 million people will play it for an hour.
But they would simulate that server
Well, they would
load.
Build that out exponentially, I suppose, that load. But at the same time, where you don't know exactly where the fault lies in a lot of places. So I think just going, oh, well, it's obviously Titanfall's fault. It's like, yeah, okay, but there is the whole underlying system. Now, if it's their netcode, that's the problem, fine. But if it's the interaction between America and the UK and just server load, well, that's That's video games.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest issues with this is Microsoft's talk, really, about cloud and ramping servers up and down.
Even now, it's still very vague, isn't it?
They're just setting themselves up for a fall. When things like this happen, just asking for the fingers to be going, pointed at them, going, "What was this you were saying a few months ago?" It's like. And I don't think we've ever had a situation like a SimCity situation on a console where you can't sign into your Xbox and do anything. You might imagine if like Diablo came out and suddenly the entire internet went down. You couldn't do anything. Do you know what I mean?
That would be terrible.
This is the console equivalent of that, essentially. Yeah. And it's just...
It is weird, isn't it? I think... I just think as a consumer, you've got to be so aware that this is going to be a likely problem that's going to rise its head every time.
But I've never thought anything different, though. Then I always, from the very second Xbox Live launched, I always anticipate at launch problems. Like Left 4 Dead was terrible. Left 4 Dead 2, fucking unplayable.
But Call of Duty has been fine, hasn't it? Most years.
But has it though, or is that just confirmation bias? I mean, I remember plenty of times where I couldn't get on Modern Warfare 2. I remember having big problems with Black Ops.
Really?
Because there's exponential server loads. Like people, so say you've got 1,000 testers all playing it for X hours.
But not to the point where the entire network goes down, essentially. Like you can't log into the console.
Well,
surely this is limited on a game-by-game basis.
A different thing. That's
is it a dedicated server thing? Because this uses like Microsoft's actual servers, where the others were peer-to-peer, right?
That's what Xbox Live was essentially.
Yeah.
Now and you're right, they're muddying it. It's like the power of the cloud.
What? Sorry, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's there's clouds and there's processing. It'll do the stuff with it.
It's freaky though, isn't it? I mean, with like Battlefield. Is that even at a stage where they're happy with it yet? Because I know I
don't think so. I think the problem with Battlefield is all the destruction stuff and syncing that up with servers, and I think it takes far too much bandwidth, essentially, for it to be able to cope with. That's the impression I get. That's the real problem. But I think they're on the way.
But I mean,
the Xbox One version, I actually haven't had all that many problems with. There have been moments where I've been like error after error after error on particular nights, but for the most part, it's been okay in my experience. But
yeah, if you're buying a next gen console and you're buying, when you release you're buying an Xbox One to play Titanfall, it does kind of suck.
It's just kind of embarrassing for Microsoft.
That big first launch, is kind of plummeted. But I mean, the Xbox Live is fine as of right now. It seems to be
back now, but then it was fine this time yesterday. Yeah, it just seems America could wake up later today.
It may well happen on Friday with the Europe launch.
Yeah, well, it's rolling out in stages, isn't it? So it's tomorrow for Europe and then Friday for the UK.
Right.
So we'll see. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah. Well, are you? I guess I enjoyed it. I think I'll play a little bit more. I'm not sure.
I'm looking forward to seeing the new maps. Trying out the new maps, because I've only tried the 2 in the beta.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, well, there's 14 of them in total. We kind of chatted a little bit about this. I think the one that stands out the most, and I had the same experience, was Angel City, which is the one
the beta.
That was definitely...
That's the one they showed off first,
That's definitely the best one.
It's the only one that wasn't just mud.
Yeah.
There's a lot
It's the only one that sticks out in my mind as one I can remember. The rest of the Titanfall maps just...
Well, Lagoon is pretty, but plays... quite
Smuggler's Cove. But again, I think they suffer from that. Call of Duty 4 had some very distinct maps because it changed the environment, as in so Overgrown.
Call of Duty 4 maps were amazing.
I love Overgrown.
Yeah.
That's what was good. Yeah, Overgrown, where you can hide in the long grass.
Yeah.
And you had... There was one where it was...
balcony with a machine turret on the top.
Yeah. There's the one outside where it was raining. There's the one in the warehouse.
The one on the boat.
I wasn't a big fan of the boat one.
No.
Snipers on both sides, man.
The Black Hawk Down one. What was that?
Crash.
Is that called Crash?
Where there's a massive building to the right of the helicopter.
They were so good. Yeah. They haven't made maps as good as those.
No, they haven't. Which is why they keep on pimping, going, oh yeah, these maps are back.
Yeah.
But not distinct enough.
What's the situation with Titanfall DLC, by the way? I mean, I know it's planned.
There's a season pass.
It's a mix of free and
3 map packs, possibly weapons as well. I won't say, but don't know.
Okay, fair enough. Well, maybe better stuff's coming.
Let's just hope that we can all play Titanfall.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all we can do at this stage.
I'm mega excited.
Cool.
But then I'm a shooter fan.
I'm glad you are, Dave. Shall we move on to some questions?
No, because they're bound to be horrible.
Well, actually, I guess you played a little bit of Project Spark. I'm tempted to leave that until we until we do the video this afternoon.
Yeah, totally.
The Project Spark beta is up and running at the moment.
Yeah, I've been playing it. We've been working on a video feature for it, which will go up this week. Everybody has come into the studio when I've been capturing footage from it, looked at it and gone, this looks fucking boring, and walked out again.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine the level of creation stuff is only going to be for certain people. A lot of people will play that game just to find weird and crazy stuff that other people have made.
Yeah, I don't think it's not like Little Big Planet to an extent did have it was something you could play without being into the creative side of it.
Yeah.
I don't think Project Spark has that at all.
Okay.
I think it's only going to be interesting to see what other people have done. If you are into the creative side, to see how they've done it. Or I'm not getting much of a Little Big Planet vibe at all from it. It doesn't have enough personality to really ape Little Big Planet. And Stephen Fry's not in it.
It's disappointing.
One thing I'm concerned about, I think I read in an Edge preview, maybe, is that they said that some of the objects you have to actually buy.
Yeah, so it's
a whole free-to-play setup.
So the objects you buy, but then when it comes to sharing the worlds, can people who haven't bought those objects also access those worlds?
That is a fantastic question. Is that so?
Yeah, I believe so.
Right.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Because it's basically to... purchasing them is but just unlocking them for use in the editor, because you can I found that I could choose objects that I hadn't purchased and things like that, and they would show up in the editor and allow me to position them and stuff. It's just like if I wanted to put them down and go off and do something else, it would come up and say you haven't bought this yet. So it seems like all the assets are there, so you should be able to play anyone's things. All on the point of the assets, though, it's all like everything is set up to make stuff that looks a bit like Fable. Yeah,
but I noticed that the enemies that you were putting into the game were a variety of different sized goblins, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was...
That's what we saw in the trailer that they did.
But this is like all the assets I can see. I know it's beta and everything, but there's just not
with, like,
any
fantasy sort of.
Yeah, there's not any kind of variety in the art styles or anything like that. So
I wonder how much of that is kind of limited to packs that you buy. But still, it's got
to be. They must be looking to add loads of assets to it.
Well, cool. We'll be checking that out. I know you've made something for me to play.
Yeah, I made a little game for you to play and see what you think of it.
Oh, I'm terrified already.
It's awful.
Cool.
It took me like a day to make
it.
So.
I'll pretend to like it regardless. Sweet. Well, that'll be a video feature at some point this week.
Yeah, so look out for that.
And moving on to some questions. And don't you be checking your phone, Dave. Because
I am checking my phone right now.
There are Scamel Jam questions floating around.
It's the Scamel Jam.
And I don't want you to see them. That's kind of the point. Okay, so, right, what have we got here? We got a question from KT120.
Hello.
You can sit down with a video game character and ask them one question. Who would that character be, and what would that question entail? Sonic.
Why do you need so many rings?
I was going to say Sonic as well, but my question would be, why the fuck are you still here?
Get out of my house.
What do rings actually do? Like, why do rings protect him from death? Well, not death, but spikes.
Well, I would say in the classical sense that money prevents him from having to atone for any of the...
Are rings money?
Mm-hmm. You tell
Are they
me.
currency?
I reckon.
Or are they like a magical
Have you seen the end of
device?
The Wolf of Wall Street?
No, I haven't seen Wolf of Wall Street at all.
Well, go watch that, and that kind of summarises why Sonic needs rings to survive.
Sonic the Hedgehog like an allegory for Atlas Shrugged, or is that what we're getting at?
I believe so.
Right,
I do, and I think that, again, at the end of the very first stage, essentially, or the first area in Sonic the Hedgehog, what's the boss? It's got that big wrecking ball. That's the ball that's come off Atlas' shoulders. The globe. You're onto something. Right, that's it. It is about capitalism. Thanks, Yuji Naka. You're the man.
Right, cool. From Brett Claxton, what PC indie games do you think would be a good fit for the likes of the PS4/Vita and Xbox One? It's probably more likely to be the PlayStation at this stage, isn't it?
Any indie games.
Yeah, to be fair, the PlayStation
anything and everything, as long as there's something to play in the fucking thing.
Yeah. And that they are doing a better job than Microsoft at giving you new stuff to play on the PlayStation 4 if you bought one, just through the fact that they're porting loads of indie games over. They're not really doing like with Awesome Notes. They pretty much just got the PC version and brought it over. Not really changed a great deal.
Yeah,
and people were chuffed with that because it was Awesome Notes
because it was something to play.
Their next gen console that they bought.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I really adore the PS4. I think it's a wonderful bit of hardware. But they really need to start getting stuff out on it. I'm sick of fucking Killzone. So
talking of indie games, I got addicted to. Well, is it an indie game? Resogun by Housemarque E. Yeah, I know I'm way too late for this. Really good. Can't get past the second level though. But I'm addicted.
Oh, dude, I fucking love it. I remember when I reviewed it when the console launched, and I remember trying to describe why I was enjoying it so much to you guys, probably on the podcast, and it just sounded like I've been taking drugs. Like,
well, I was watching you play it, and I was in there with you. I was like, it doesn't look like the thing for me. And I tried it, and I was like, nah, I get it. It's like a sort of Dark Souls situation where I was like, I get it, but probably not sure.
I've never been into bullet hell shooters.
No, neither have I, at all.
I know exactly what you mean. Resogun, there's something about it that's got that one more go appeal.
And that was the first time my controller had ever spoken to me. It was quite a special.
Yeah, it's
Save the
amazing
humans.
when that happens.
All right,
isn't it?
okay.
Save the last humans.
Oh man, yeah.
It looks cracking as well. Like it looks really lovely.
Yeah, I still think it's my favourite next gen game at the moment.
But in terms of other games coming to PS4, Octodad would be nice.
Yeah.
Didn't Gone Home just get confirmed
for consoles? Yeah. I think they're doing the right thing. They're doing very simple ports at the moment, not really fleshing out the games when they don't need to. But it's giving people to play whilst some of the bigger titles and the new titles.
What's that Jonathan Blow one? Was it Witness?
Witness, yeah.
That's confirmed to be coming to PS4, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's actually showed some of the initial gameplay of that. Did you see? He did a little walkthrough of it. I don't. It didn't really blow me away, to be honest.
Badly at E3. Was it at E3, or was it when you were there when he came onto the stage? When I'm not sure how I'm going to follow all those explosions.
Oh yeah. That was the PS4 reveal, wasn't it?
I remember watching that in live stream game.
So I'm making a game about you walk through this really nice world and do puzzles.
What, Myst?
Myst? Why not? I'm looking forward to it.
Isn't Witness about like you're exploring and doing puzzles and stuff like that? But aren't you being stalked by a predator that will kill you if you're not careful? And
I didn't think so. No, I don't know.
Isn't that the gist of Witness?
All I've seen is that you walk up to panels and you kind of do like a maze thing.
Yeah, but apparently there's something like in the forest that's out to get you.
Oh man, I didn't realise that.
Or am I thinking of something else entirely?
Maybe it's like The Village. Maybe the beast is actually in your own mind. Spoiler alert for anyone that's not seen the Village.
Village is a good film.
Good.
It always comes back to films with you, though, doesn't it?
Steve's life is based on
The Godfather Part 2.
My life is based on the movie of my life. Is that what you're saying?
Constantly chasing that Citizen Kane.
Oh, the Last of Us movie. The Last of Us. I tweeted the other day. It made me so happy. There's a Last of Us movie. I tweeted saying the Last of Us movie is going to be the Citizen Kane of movies. So I was like, please don't start this again. And I was like, too late. It's already been retweeted everywhere.
Wrongheaded asks, have you ever hated a video game villain, not irritated by difficulty but emotionally involved?
I don't know, I like to see things from other people's perspectives a lot of the time. So
you are a villain. You're a video game villain waiting to happen.
Carver's just trying to make it, man. He's just trying to survive.
He actually is. That's a fair point. They all are.
Exactly.
I'm trying to think. The Flappy Bird pipes.
You hate them.
Why are they there?
Dave. That's the new feature. But who did you hate? Sorry, not Braz. Did you hate anyone, Jim?
I'm trying to think. Anyone?
Hate's a very strong word, isn't it?
An actual genuine.
Well, actively disliked, maybe, or had like a proper motivation for killing the character, not necessarily just finishing the game.
Nothing that springs to mind.
It's really bad, isn't it?
Shit.
I don't know. I'm sure. I'm kind of vaguely remembering moments where I felt like that about a specific character, but I mean, I can't think of any actual specifics, which is a bit weird.
That's kind of disappointing, isn't it?
Oh, I actually have got one.
Go on.
But it's not necessarily a person. It's an entire team.
Right.
What? It's a football team. Now, right, I really dislike the England football team.
Okay.
I just dislike the notion of the England football team. Essentially, because they're all bastards. Mm-hmm. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Essentially, because I think they're all bastards.
Oh.
Maybe that's better.
Okay,
Anyway, ever since Euro '96, So, you know, I was like watching it, I was just like, my dad's Scottish, hence Burns. I used to watch football with him, natural affinity for Scotland over England, and it was just drilled into me that you just don't like the England football team. So whenever I get a new football game, I will pick the best team and batter England. I take a really perverse glee out of just smashing the England football team to pieces with Brazil or someone. I think that might actually be a mental problem that I need to get over, but that's probably the closest I've been.
I think that fits.
Not necessarily a boss or a main villain,
okay,
but every enemy character in Call of Juarez the Cartel.
That's the greatest game. If you haven't played the Cartel, it's got this moment where you go undercover to get into a strip club, which is owned by a gangster you need to kill.
Okay.
Despite the fact you're police officers, don't worry about it. So you go up to the door, and the other character goes, "Hey man, can we get in?" And the bouncer goes, "You're not cops, are you?" And you go, "No, of course we're not cops," despite the fact your character model still has a massive, massive cop badge hanging around his neck. Goes, "Hey man, do we look like cops?" I just couldn't believe what I was seeing.
It's just I was going to say disgusting video game, and it is, but it's like none of the characters in there, even the player characters, are likeable at all. None of it. It's just, and maybe that's intentional. Maybe it's meant to reflect what a horrible world we live in. But
I think I need to own that now.
I bought it. I paid £5 for that video game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm past trying to change your mind in the way that you spend money on video games, Dave.
Yeah.
But there we are. I probably hated some Final Fantasy villains, but I tend to hate the protagonist more. But yeah, so I'd argue that Tidus is in many ways the villain of Final Fantasy X. But yeah.
I just thought of what was his name? Paulie in the Darkness. The mafia boss, the guy that shoots your girlfriend in front of you. Yeah, that stayed with me like fucking hell. That's mainly because I wasn't expecting it. It hadn't been spoiled when I played the Darkness, and that moment, fucking hell.
Yeah,
there we go. That's what I needed to
back
hear.
And
Jim's got a proper
you
answer.
just have to watch. Like you really feel for the protagonist you're playing, even though he's kind of a cock.
Video games can't tell stories.
No, mostly about your girlfriend getting shot and then you growing 8 demonic limbs and fucking shit.
I can relate to that, all right, man? That's fine.
DMC's demon guy. Was it Satan? Is it Satan? You know the guy I'm talking about?
Wait, what? The original?
No, DMC, the latest one.
Oh, right. I didn't play it. I played it, but I didn't get that far.
There's a big bald guy. I think he's Satan.
You're not a fan of him?
Don't like Satan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he wasn't a very pleasant man.
I think, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
He wasn't very pleasant, and he may have been the devil. That's reason enough to hold at least a small dislike towards the chap.
Yeah.
What would you like Respawn to do next? Ask Harry.
Titanfall 2.
Titanfall 2,
I got some stick for saying, on the YouTube comments, they were like, game's not even out yet, and he's talking about Titanfall 2. Well, no, you're right. You're absolutely correct. They're just going to go, well done, guys. We've made the first installment of obviously this multi-year contract we signed. What are we going to do next? Wait a minute, maybe we'll do the same. Maybe we'll fuck off EA just like we did. Yeah, I'd like to make a shooter with ponies.
Yeah, but I know that sounds like an easy answer, but it is genuinely what I would like to see them do next, because I think Steve's right in that I think this is almost like testing the waters a little bit and finding their feet.
Do people like giant mechs? Yes, they do. Sweet, let's make another one. And
so like Call of Duty? Yes, they do.
I think if they really pushed it...
Yep.
Imagine if it's like Transformers and you could fly and shit like that. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Very good point, actually.
What if the Titans could wall run? Shit.
Yeah.
That will happen. Yeah. There'll be a smaller mech, like this maybe kind of...
I mean, there are a few... The mechs do change.
There's a lighter mech, but there'll be like a smaller one. There'll be more like an exosuit. It's happening. Get me on board. Get me on board. I'll design it. I'll design it all.
And final question from Gavin, who asks, is it wrong to judge your 2-year-old daughter's intelligence on whether she can complete Portal?
No.
Fucking video game journalists. Fair enough. Okay, there you
Can she beat Portal?
I don't know.
I'd be very impressed if she can.
He doesn't elaborate. I think he's seen a 2-year-old playing Portal and failing miserably as they would, and
he's worried about what his feelings towards his daughter will be if he sees that. Fair enough.
Walked out on his family.
Shit. Gavin.
That could be a window into something very tragic that's recently happened.
Yeah, I'm not.
It sounds like a very easy and silly question, but there could be a.
I'm going to make no comment for legal reasons. I don't believe.
Is it your daughter?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine that, Dave? No,
That
absolutely
actually
not.
sounds quite horrific. Can we cut that bit out?
No.
What? Probably not.
Right, good.
Oh, and shit, I know what this is time for. Dave's just got into that mode where he started saying things that may or may not be inappropriate.
It's the Scammel Jam.
I think we'll probably use the jingle that we've got.
Oh, right. We made a professional one. Oh, it's the Scammel Jam.
Okay, so from Twin Humanities, which is a Dark Souls podcast.
It is.
Oh, great.
We've got a question that says, Dave, what's the heaviest thing you've picked up and put down again? Do you regret it? And would you do it more than once?
My dog.
That's the heaviest thing you ever picked up.
My dog's a big dog.
What kind of dog?
I don't know whether it's my current
What
dog.
kind of dog? It's
I
a
think it's
horse.
my last dog. Yeah. It's a big fat Labrador.
Right. You picked him up.
And he was heavy.
Did you regret it?
Yeah, I'd do it again if I had to. Well, I wouldn't now because he's dead. But
Oh, God. Oh, Jesus Christ.
I mean, you don't need to laugh about it. These things happen.
Stop saying that. I can't help. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Let me take the Miller Instinct question that we couldn't read out last week and do that.
Oh no!
What was it? Shit, it was about something about masturbating and...
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Let's not go there.
that one is grim.
All right.
Are we getting on with it? I'm getting hungry.
Right. Dave,
Yeah.
this is from... right, we have already asked you once, but it ended up bringing your dead dog into the situation.
You just mentioned it again. I'm about to get very upset.
So we'll move on. This is from Ben Barrett, who asks, if you could only have one, would it be Miller's Arms or Brat's Youth?
Oh, Jesus, I don't know.
So would you like to be young and innocent like me?
I think Brat's Youth.
Really?
I don't know, though. I don't know.
Brat's Youth sounds like an
You
organisation.
are only getting Miller's Arms though as well. You're not getting the rest of the physique.
Right.
Oh,
So
crap, that would that would be weird.
it's
actually,
no
wouldn't it?
comparison really.
Brat's Youth.
Yep.
Oh, I'm ringing. Shit.
Hey, oh, professional.
Hello? Yeah, speaking.
Oh, God. All right, fucking hell. Dave.
Keep it running. I need to know what this is.
Okay.
Well, we'll just carry on without him. That pretty much wraps up the podcast anyway, I think, doesn't it? We've
No,
answered
I
the...
haven't.
Shit, we
No.
need a podcast
No.
competition. I reckon we do something with Dark Souls. What do you
Yeah.
say?
No accidents, no. Sorry.
Articulate the reasons why you hate Dark Souls in the form of an interpretive
Yeah,
dance.
why do you love... Okay, no, that's actually good.
No.
That's a good idea. Why do you love or hate Dark Souls? You can express that how you want. A picture, a video,
No.
an audio file.
Nothing at all.
I don't know. Anything you'd like to do.
Just make people do a video.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
but
you.
not everyone has access to video
Cheers.
software. That's why
Bye.
I sometimes don't like...
No, they don't need it.
Okay.
Everyone's got a smartphone. Fuck it.
I'll keep it open.
Vine it.
If you do a video, we'll be particularly impressed. But
That was all about if I'd ever been in an industrial
Yeah.
accident.
Yeah.
And then she asked me if I'd ever had a car accident.
It should be like, well, I did drop this dog.
yeah, and now it's dead.
You probably picked up the entire conversation. I wasn't actually listening to what she was saying. Probably picked it all up on the mic. So there you go. It's an insight into my life.
Brilliant. Yeah. So we're gonna.
So yes, Brat's Youth, because I would live forever young and I'd have twilight hair. And Braz, I'm not being funny about this, but you get given lemons.
Fucking hell. So anyway,
yes.
as we wrap up this week's podcast, why do you love or hate Dark Souls? We'll make a thread on the forum. If we pick your entry at the end of the month, you'll win a video game of your choice. It could even be Dark Souls 2.
Right, so they can express that in any way.
Anyway, and I'm going to keep that as open.
Video,
So,
audio,
Yeah.
photo.
Interpretive
Interpretive dance.
Interpretive dance.
Yeah, that's my winner, whoever does that. So
Yeah, we don't want to pick favourites, but interpretive
But-
dance would be quite impressive.
Not just writing on the forum, though, right? Surely.
No, it's got to be something that we can show off. 'Cause
Yeah,
we
something-
tend to like pick our favourites and show them in a gallery
Right,
video.
okay,
So
something
something
that's-
that would suit
right.
that.
yeah,
And Dave and I will have a look at those later down the line.
Hopefully we'll mess it up again.
Yes, that was fun, wasn't it?
It was,
Yeah.
but it was funnier because we didn't know it was going to happen.
Well, the whole thing was staged. I script everything that we do.
You knew?
Yeah, sorry, man.
I didn't.
Well, yeah, thank you for listening to this week's Video Gamer UK podcast.
It's been a weird one.
It has, Dave.
Please, no one attack me because I do want to like Dark Souls.
And
I'm
You just
scared.
don't know how.
I'm now scared that I'm going to become a anti-Dark Souls.
nah, it's like Dave. It's just an unpopular opinion.
That's the
like
thing.
my opinion that people shouldn't be fucking taking photos of their kids every 3 minutes and putting them on Facebook because that's just a bit weird. But you're going to get shouted down for these opinions, even
You are.
if, so.
The start of Mad Men might not be for everyone?
No.
With all these unpopular opinions
Hey,
just flying around.
we're just chatting here.
Left, right,
No
centre.
one's in the wrong. It's just opinions, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you for listening, and thank you for joining me,
True
David
Detective's a load
Scammell.
of
Thank you very much, Chris. It's been wonderful.
True Detective. I'm about to start watching that. Isn't that good?
I've no idea. I just said it.
that will
you
piss
should
people
just
off.
cut it as soon as that.